Good afternoon and welcome then. It's just gone 3 o'clock on Monday, the 6th of July. And here on Rovers TV, we have another installment of our Q&A sessions. And today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome the head man, the number one of the entire outfit at Post Office Road, if you like. And that is the head coach, James Webster. Good afternoon, Webbo. How are you doing, mate?
Good afternoon. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yourself?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Obviously, this lockdown, etc., has meant I've got a bit more bushy on top, mate. And I'm glad that I can go get an haircut somewhere now, mate. Get rid of this and get rid of that. How have you found it yourself, James?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Probably a bit foreign and unprecedented for myself. Probably since I left school, I've always been, busy working and. Definitely.
So, have you've carried on? I know, obviously, you've carried on working then. So, have you had to adjust? Obviously, you'd have had to adjust the working patterns, etc., as the restrictions have allowed.
Yeah, it's probably more of the work's been personal, I suppose. A lot of it this time allowed me to get a better grip and understanding of the championship. Watching all the games, not only this year's, but I went back to last year and watched some important games that. Not only Rovers were involved with, but also some of the other teams. And to understand the championship a little bit better was important for myself. And that time gave me the chance for that. But, I've read a lot of books and different types of things and basically get away from the kids as much as I can. And I can do. So I've been busy. Done plenty of stuff, preparing for this year, but also one eye on next year, as that'll be rolling around pretty quick.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how the boys have been with the homeschooling, etc., but they've enjoyed it, haven't they?
Yeah, they've had a good time. The weather was fantastic at first, and they were outside all the time, and then they lack a little bit of structure now. I think they would love to get back to understanding what they're going to do every day, but it's definitely been a challenging period for myself. Seeing my wife's gone back to work at times now, so. It's me with the two boys, so I don't think their academic prowess has improved a huge amount since I've taken
over. You could have brought a member of the squad in to teach him as well. That'd have been quite fun. Learning geography with with Luke Cooper. That'd have been quite interesting, mate.
Yeah, Coops thinks he's a pretty smart bloke. I don't know really if he is, but my boys love rugby league, so any type of interaction with any type of players, they would have jumped at the chance. But I know they're upstairs watching this at the moment, so they're threatening to send some questions in as the day goes on. So hopefully they'll behave themselves.
Well, I don't know how many of these you've seen, James. Obviously, we've done a few with the players, and they've all gone down fairly well. They're quite light-hearted. There's nothing, no curveballs or anything like that. What we'll do, we'll give you a little bit of a chat through. We'll go right back, to when you first started out in rugby and how that all came about, and then obviously. We've got a few quick answer questions, a couple of questions on the team as well, which you can answer as honestly as you want. And then obviously questions from the viewers that have joined us this afternoon. We'll get to some of those towards the end of this Q&A. So if we start off with some questions about your playing career and coaching career today, and obviously if you can tell us a little bit about yourself growing up and how you got involved in rugby league. I think that'd be a good place to start. We obviously know that you have become a bit of a known name and a bit of a legend in the UK game. Obviously, there's one game that always sticks in my mind that I managed to watch, which was I think it was a Hull KR derby and an old little cheeky drop goal in conditions that were not akin to a nice summer's afternoon that you get in Featherston. And I say that tongue in cheek, James. So
I remember the game well, but if you went back to where I started, obviously I was born in Sydney. Australia was probably a very simple country at the time, really. In winter, you played rugby league, and in summer, you played cricket. So I started off playing rugby league at the age of 5, like all my friends did. Played for our school team on the weekend. From then, just progressed through the years until I got to the age of 15, where I signed to play for the Balmain Tigers, obviously now the West Tigers. Learnt my trade there. The Super League war broke out in Australia when I was about 16. Worked out all right for me. I remember a day I got a Super League, an ARL contract at the time. ARL was fighting against Super League, and I signed a deal for that. Progressed through the ranks quite quickly at Balmain. Had a great time at Balmain. Had some really good old professionals, and it was a really good learning curve for myself. Made my debut at a young age for the Tigers, and very fond memories at the Balmain days. From there, obviously, Balmain merged with West, didn't they? And I was part of their first squad, so to speak. Didn't really work out for me in that, there was no salary cap, I think, at the time, and I think we were spending $8 million a year on players, and I just didn't get a game for 2 years, so I played in the reserve grade, really, where Parramatta picked me up, and I spent 3 fantastic years at Parramatta, totally different club to that of Balmain. Balmain was probably one of the Featherstons of the competition, while Parramatta was a Leeds. So, they had plenty of money and could go do what they want when they wanted. And, it was a really good grounding for me.
And obviously, you like you've touched on there, you started out at Balmain in 2002. I think you went to Parramatta, as you said. Obviously here in the UK, a little bit more about the progression through, from starting out amateur and playing amateur rugby, and then hopefully getting picked up by an academy and moving on through that to eventually hopefully get a professional contract with the club. Is it something similar to that system in Australia? Is obviously, like you've touched on there, would you start out at an amateur level and work your way through, or is it something that the major clubs all have their own routes, if you like?
Yeah, everyone starts amateur. Obviously, the game's a lot bigger there, simply through numbers. And when you get to 15 was the first age you represented like an area, and so that our team was in the Balmain competition. I got picked up to play for Balmain. Not everyone gets paid money at that age. Some do, some don't. Generally, what they had also was a strong schools competition, similar to what I've been told was the case in England some time ago. But every club had a school where they sent their children to, and generally, as most of the schools that played rugby league were what they call state schools, which was free to go to, or Catholic schools where you paid. And the Catholic school competition was the gun competition. So Penrith would have a school, they sent their kids. Parramatta would have a school, Balmain have a school, so on. Every Thursday you'd play against each other. So we were playing, in Australia, school, we only went to school for an hour and a half on a Thursday, and then everyone, no matter what you did, you'd go play sport. Whether that be swimming, netball, soccer, cricket, rugby league, you had to go do something. So we played against those schools on a Thursday, then we backed up and played against them again on the Saturday, and then we played local league on the Sunday. So we played plenty of rugby league as a young kid, and it's similar now. Obviously, the money's gone through the roof in Australia, and kids are getting exorbitant money now when they leave school. But generally, not everyone gets paid like here in the academy. Everyone obviously wants a piece of the pie, and that's not the case. It's not compulsory to pay people until they get older. But also, when I started, there was 3 grades, like what they call grades. You had 21s or a third grade, a reserve grade, and a first grade, and we all trained together. So as a 17, 18-year-old kid, I got my first taste of, 16-year-old kid actually, got my first taste of third grade playing with men. And I tell you what, that was an eye-opener for me. It was but it was just fantastic. We used to go on a Tuesday afternoon, sit in the change rooms, all 3 grades, and they'll start with third grade and read right through to first grade. And if you didn't hear your name in third grade, you'd think it might be in reserve grade. And if you weren't named in reserve grade, we got a chance to play first grade. So just a different time in the world, really. And, it's probably a shame that the sport in Australia has lost it a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting, James, hearing you say, about the pathway through, because obviously the way that things are with things in the UK, it's slightly different, and I think you've got to be extremely lucky to progress, through and have a real special talent. And as you say, you do find that a lot of the so-called richer clubs do manage to cherry pick, the way that things are here in the UK, which then you might have lads who are more than capable who just, if you like, fall through the system a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, you could say that. It's not so much the thing as what you call a rich club in Australia. Other than, the Roosters are traditionally, the billionaire club where a billionaire owner, and I think you need something along the lines of 50 or 60 million just to get on the board. And Brisbane, they're probably the two glamour clubs. Other than that, everyone's pretty even, to tell you the truth. There's obviously the Parramatta / Penrith area, the area now where most kids live, so they're strong junior bases. Unfortunately, the eastern suburbs, where the Roosters are, not many kids live anymore. It's too expensive, so they traditionally have to buy their players in, and that's probably why they've been known as the big spenders. They probably have to spend to get people in, but they don't have. It really annoys me in England when you hear about, I want to go to a big club. I want to go to Saints, Wigan, Leeds. There's not really that in Australia. People move around a lot more, and they're prepared to move club. While here, it's people just want to try and get in those clubs instead.
So we get to 2002, Parramatta Eels in the NRL. You spent 2 years there, and then you make a move to OKR. How did that come about, James?
Yeah, actually, I spent 3 years at Para.
All right.
3 years, 2, 3, and 4. I was on the end of season trip out in Cancun, Mexico, believe it or not, with Parramatta. One of those mornings where you've just had enough of the boys and you're hungover as hell. And I went down to reception, and you had to get on a computer those days to get emails, not just on your phone and stuff like that. So I jumped on the email, and there was a email from Harvey Howard, ex Wigan Leeds front rower who played out for the Tigers and also Brisbane. He emailed me asking, would I be interested in coming to come play Holcow where he was coaching. So I had an offer, believe it or not, to originally play and coach reserve grade with Brian Smith. He offered me that job, and I had a late offering once I agreed to actually go to London Broncos. But after speaking to Brian, he coached the whole FC, so he knew the city well, and he said, look, realistically, it's a really good opportunity for us. So I packed my bags, and I thought I was coming for 1 year, to have a good time and see the world. And, I'm still here, but it was, to tell you the truth, by the time I spoke to Harvey, when I got back, we probably had the deal done in an hour. And, once my visa came through, I was on a plane.
Yeah. I think when it feels right, it feels right, doesn't it? And you'll know, that it worked out well in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, look, there comes a stage in your life and lots of different things, whether it be work, family, different things. You realise, you need to change, or, it's just not going to work for me. And why I showed a lot of promise as a player as a kid, I probably just wasn't physically able to meet the demands of being a out and out first grader week in, week out in Australia. So why the immigration rules allowed me to qualify to get into the UK, I thought, I'd probably always regret not coming over and giving it a go. So it felt right, I didn't have anything to hold me back at the time, no partner or kids or anything like that. So I got on.
Do you feel, James, that you come across and you start playing. What was it like running out? The first time at would it be in Craven Park then?
Well, the first friendly was against people. Second game was the derby. I played in a friendly against Hull FC at the KC Stadium, and it was a fantastic experience. But I don't think I'll ever forget my first competition game, which was at Keighley away. I turned up. It's probably the hardest place in the world to get to Keighley on a bus. I remember it looked like a beautiful sunny day. I got there and I got off of this tracksuit and it was so cold and warmed up. And there's that hill at the back of the thing and it looked pretty poor at the back. I said, "Oh, those clouds don't look too good." And I said, "Oh, that's snow." And then it rained, snowed, hailed in that game. We won by a point. I came off. I couldn't even see myself. I was that, covered in mud, only to be welcomed by cold showers. So it was it was a nice welcome to England. I can tell you, it wasn't really a fantastic experience for me.
It's a ground in it, Larkin Lane, that it's still not changed today, has it? It's still always had that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
It's a tough place to go. It's cold. Yeah. It's old. We were lucky enough that Holcar are a really well away supported team, and we had plenty of numbers that day. But it wasn't about enjoying the atmosphere. It was about trying to get through that game. It was that cold.
And obviously, you did. Well, you must have got acclimatised now, James, to the beautiful conditions that we have here in the UK. Where you can have all seasons within the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get used to the weather. The way I like it. But also I'm a citizen of England and Australia, and people have been fantastic. And so I always believe that no matter where you live, you should try and feel into how those people live and enjoy that, and not continue to talk about being a foreigner. And try to throw myself into the way of life and other English people as well as I could.
We look at sort of like now, and a question is, I know you decided to stay here in England, so obviously, is it a case that you do see England as home now?
Deep down, I'll always be Australian, 100%. Yeah. Born and bred there, and that I don't think you can ever take that away from me. In saying that, and value the values that people in England have. My two boys are half and half. Well, actually, my wife's English, and it's important that the boys understand that they have heritage in Australia, and should they go to live there, they've got a passport for each. They can, but at this stage, this is where life is, and you do the best you can with the situation you're at. So, should something happen that means we had to get up and go, then that might be the case. But at this stage, things are good. I'm enjoying my job, and life seems pretty good.
You decide to hang up your boots, James, and then you consider, well, you take up an assistant coaching role. How hard a decision was it for you to make the choice that that's it now? I'm no longer playing. I want to go into coaching.
Yeah, obviously the contact with me and Rich Agar came from when I went to Hull FC from Hull KR, and I had to wait for my British passport to come through. And as we all know, with immigration, things aren't always plain sailing, and it took a while for that to come through. And I only got to play one game for Hull FC, but why I wasn't playing, I did a lot of backroom stuff for Rich, and that's how we became friends, I suppose. And I remember my last game well. We're playing at Lee away on Thursday night, wet, cold. playing for Widnes. You know, I've met some great people at Widnes, and they're a great club. I just didn't. That team was put together from people from everywhere. A lot of good players. We just didn't play great as a team. We won the Northern Rail, which qualified the club for Super League through the licensing system, but realistically, we knew that was 3 years away, and 95% of us that were playing there wouldn't be playing Super League for Widnes. So I think as a club, Widnes stopped a bit and waited for that period. And people like myself, you know, I look back and that's probably the one regret of my career of how I played when I was at Widnes. I just wasn't very good, and I sat and changed at the end of the game. And I still remember Paul Cullen said, for any of those who don't want to be here anymore, then, you know, they can go. And I got offered a job by Richard that week. I think they were going to Catalans. One of their coaches left, and I thought, realistically, just like when I left Australia to come to England, it was time to move on. I still think I could play a bit, but I just wasn't as good as I was. And you know, I love witnessing the people there. I probably let myself down for the way I played and trained at time at Widnes. And if I could have it back, I would probably do things different. But you know, those times are gone, and I knew it was time to move on and try something different.
Yeah, I think you're right. What you say there, you do, don't you? You know, both physically and mentally that that physically, you know, that's it. The body's gone. I can't maintain at that level. And mentally, you also know, don't you, that if it's not right and you don't feel comfortable with the way on the playing side, you've got to look for a new challenge and move on. Unfortunately, you've had that, you know, that time with Rich Agar that allowed you to do that. I'm going to move slightly on a little bit, James, and take you to 2014 if I can. And you were announced as head coach at Wakefield Trinity. You spent just a short year there, but how much did you learn in that short time, and, you know, from those experiences that have helped you to go on and become a better coach today?
I remember I got asked this not long after. I remember I met Jamie Peacock at Escape just to chat about some stuff, really. He wanted to chat with us about some stuff. And he asked me at the time, you know, what would you do different? And you're too close to it at the time to really understand and know. And I was, as a coach, I just wanted to win every week. I wanted to win every battle, you know, with the training coach. And I was so intent of being a successful coach that I was just too enthralled in it, really. It just took over my life. You know, do I think we got unlucky with some stuff at that place? 100%. I think I felt sorry for Michael Carter at the time. He inherited, you know, a club, well, saved a club really, that had to sell players. And in doing so, next year, we had no players ready to start when Rich was still there. And obviously, they had to get people in on heavily contracts that the year after we struggled to be able to move those people or change it. And, you know, it's a great learning curve when you look back. And, you know, I love following Wakefield. Great club. You know, still speak to Michael and have some friends there. It taught me to be not enjoy the high so much and not be so low when you lose as well. It made me a lot more grounded. There's no way I got as excited when we win now, and there's no way I get as distraught when we lose. So it rounded you off a little bit. And, you know, at the time, I probably didn't realise that, and it took me probably a good couple of years to understand that. Not just the mental side, but, you know, the aura you give off to people is as important as a coach. At times, it is what you're able to try and teach and the knowledge of.
Yeah, I think, you know I've been coached myself, not at the level that you're at, but you know, I've been through the turmoils of winning and having successful teams where you're winning week in, week out, and everything's flying. But then there comes along that defeat, and it's how you handle that defeat, innit? And it's how you get to deal with it. And probably times that it happens, I struggled with it, and you know, everything went the kitchen sink. The cat got a good kicking when I got home. You know, don't speak to it. You know what I mean? But then, as you say, you've got to try and find that balance, then, aren't you? Because as a head coach, the guys that's playing underneath you will look for you for that direction to say, right, okay, well, yeah, we admit that, you know, some of the stuff we've done, we've got it wrong, but how can we build on this, and how can we put it right, and how can we fine tune ready for when we go back and have another crack? And I think that something that I pick up from speaking to yourself, James, earlier on, you know, you always said that, yeah, that game's out of the way, but it's on to the next one.
Yeah, look, you stand still, you go by, you know, if you slow down too much, you just, people take over you. So it's always important to learn of what you've done, but you need to take those lessons on to the next part. And games come quick and fast, and I believe, and you know, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, it's right what you say. You then got the chance to return to OKR again as coach, and again, how pleasing was that for you? Because you know, you join a club that is very close to you personally.
Yeah, the whole car will always be a massive part of my life. You know, it was a surprise. It wasn't something I expected or, to tell you the truth, was looking for. You know, it wasn't a club that a team at the stage that was travelling great, but as a coach, you always think that you can improve that and do well, and I think we did. I thought we were extremely lucky with what happened to us that year. We lost obviously Albert Kelly and circumstances. Terry Kempisi never got a chance to play. You know, we were ruined with injuries, but I thought as a team we battled hard week in, week out, and you know, obviously that last day was something I will always remember against Salford.
And then you, ahead of the 2020 season starting, if you like, you make the move to Featherston. Can you tell us how that came about and what your initial thoughts were at joining Featherston?
Yeah, I've been asked this a few times, and it's pretty simple, really. I met Mark Campbell through Rich Agar many years ago, and I've been to Featherston to watch games and been to the pubs and, you know, the places you get around to Featherston, that type of thing, and always stayed good friends with that. Plus, David worked with us at Wakefield. You know, it wasn't something I even knew about that was available. They rang me and said, "Listen, there might be a chance for a job here. Would you be interested in having a look at it?" And whole car was in a situation they were fighting to stay around, you know, with relegation. So I thought I'll go meet them, and, you know, it just worked out well. After one or two meetings, we decided, yeah, and I'll be really interested in doing it.
All right. And then obviously, you know, we make a great start to the 2020 season. And then along comes lockdown and COVID that none of us could have predicted. From the opening games, James, I know we played some games in atrocious conditions and stuff like that. The standout game has got to be the win against London. But do you feel that within those first few games you saw the potential of what could be with the team?
There's heaps of potential on this side, that's for sure. We had a terrible pre-season, in all truth. It was a victim of their own succession last year. Came back late. People had weddings, holidays booked, operations. Regularly, we only had, you know, 8 or 9 people training consistently. We had a really tough pre-season, and you know, to be able to get to the thing that were 4 wins from 4 in the league and still in the Challenge Cup against a big game against Wakefield shows there's some massive potential in that team.
Yeah, it's certainly good to have that, as you said, etc. How important is it, you know, and how fired up and raring to go are you for when everything starts again?
Yeah, look, the passion's there. We're prepared as a club. You know, everything safety-wise, we've complied with the RFL, and Post Office Road's there, ready to go. So, you know, we're waiting for the green light. Obviously, today is a big meeting, and we'll wait with bated breath to see what comes out this afternoon or tomorrow about what the RFL are deciding to do.
we're going to move it on, James, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your current squad now. Who has the worst taste in music?
Oh, well, I'm not sure, but generally Ben Blackmore has the worst taste in everything. So I would put him there. I don't really know who has. So, they throw some music on before a game on a big player, but I try not to listen to too much of that, to tell you the truth. So I wouldn't know too much, but I reckon Blackie would be in and around it somewhere.
Who's the funniest member of the squad? Who always makes you laugh?
There's plenty of them actually. They're all different types. That rugged West Yorkshire accent, gets me all the time, and they're quick to give it to each other. But there's a gang of them. There's the ones that are very outlandish and very public with their sleight of hand, and then you've got some others that are a bit older and more mature and can cut you down just as quick. So it's a really funny blend of players, to the truth, and they complement each other well. So I enjoy watching them run off each other, to the
truth. If the Featherston coaches, were to go head to head with the current first team players in a Zoom quiz, which team would win?
Oh, coaches by a mile. Good blend of different people on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I lost you there, James, a bit. The sound went a bit, but I think I picked up on the gist of that. If the Australian element of the team were to have a dance-off with the English and other nations of the team, who would win that?
I'd say traditionally Australians are pretty poor at dancing. Definitely poor at football. You watch them play soccer over there. Louis Jouffre would be a chance. Being a very well-rounded Frenchman, I think he's done a bit of dancing in his time. So Menzies goes all right. I've seen Menzies over the years. He can put some moves together. So I saw Ben Blackmore dance once, and it was very poor dancing.
Never again. Some quick fire questions for you, James. Tea or coffee?
Learnt to drink it. Neither really, but I go crisps.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Early morning or night bird?
Early morning.
A night out with the lads or a night in with the missus?
Depends on what's been going on, but you'd have to say a night with the missus, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose so, mate. Would you take winning the league over winning the Challenge Cup?
For an Australian, I'll take, to start with, the cup. It was the only game that was ever on telly from England in Australia, and the walking up the stairs at Wembley to get the trophy is quite iconic in Australian sport as well. So why I think the league is the more fulfilling trophy to win. There's something special and magic for an Australian, especially around the Challenge
Cup. Greg Stebbins or Paul March?
Oh, totally two different people. Absolutely two different people. Greg, intelligent, smart bloke. Marshy, salt of the earth, Coke drinking, beer drinking, darts playing type of bloke. So each have their qualities, and I'd back them in either a fight or something else in different ways.
Hornsey Beach or Bondi Beach?
Oh, definitely. Well, my wife's from Hornsey, so plenty of time I was there yesterday. But I've never been on. I've been on the seaside plenty of times. Never been on the beach at Hornsey. So I was born Coogee, just around the corner from Bondi. So I'd have to say Bondi.
Okay. Well, we're getting towards the end, James. So what I'm going to do now is we've got a few little questions in from viewers, etc. I'll start with one from Nigel Brown. He asks, "What's your thoughts on no promotion and relegation?"
Well, if you're talking in general, obviously Championship needs promotion. I played in it when it didn't. It's just not as good. The league is obviously a victim of circumstances this year with the COVID. I can understand a huge amount of reasons why people are saying there should be or shouldn't be. It all depends whether can we have a safe competition that is financially viable and has some integrity. If we do, then there should be promotion. If there's not, then I can understand what some people are
saying. Alexa Atkinson asks, "Do you prefer playing or coaching?"
Playing's a bigger thrill. It's different, that camaraderie, that feeling of, putting your body through, pain and exhaustion to get a result. Coming up with plays and teaching people and watching people become better is the thrill you get when you coach. So they're different thrills, totally different.
And Joe Larkin asks, "Did you actually sing a song on the coach back from London?"
Yeah, I did. Everyone had to sing a song, and so I sung one. Needed to help at times. Not a great singer. I can't say. Never been one of my singing and drawing that aren't really my forte.
Brilliant. Well, James, we're getting towards the end of this now, and time has nearly caught up with us. I could chat all day long to yourself. I love picking your brain on little bits of the games and talking about players, etc., etc. Just before we wrap up, a quick message to the Rovers fans.
Stay with us. They've been fantastic so far. The fans are the club. It's a community club. It's what makes a team like Featherston or a community like Featherston tick. There's strong links to their rugby league club, and we will not survive long term without the support of the people that we have now. So I look forward to seeing them shortly, and long may they continue to support like they have.
Well, that's about it. We're just about up on time now. A massive thanks to James for joining us this afternoon. We hope you've all enjoyed it. Thanks for sending your questions in. And obviously, we look forward to you joining us again on next week's Q&A. And don't forget, guys, stay safe.